Hello, welcome. Let's discuss the analysis of Hindu today. And coming the first article, Nitish Kumar sworn as the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, and for the seventh time, and it is for the fourth consecutive time. Total 7 times. March 10, 2000, he first sworn in as Chief Minister, and just a span of only 7 days. And later in November 2005 to November 2010, full term CM, and later 2010 to 2014 worked as CM along with the JDU, and 2015 to February 2015 to November 2015 hands with RJD and works as Chief Minister, and 2015 to 2017 JDU RJD alliance Ranta as a CM, and later in 2017 to 2020 up to now worked as the CM along with the RJD, and later now elected as CM along with the BJP. These all about the Nitish Kumar's CM post. And coming to the next thing, winter session of the parliament unlikely. There will be no winter session of the parliament this time due to the rising COVID-19 cases in the New Delhi. As per the parliamentary records, only there have been 3 instances where winter session has not been held. That is in 1975, 1979, and in 1984. In these 3 years only, up to now, the winter session has not been conducted in the history of the parliament. And coming to all the affairs related to the conduct of the parliament, all these things decided by the Cabinet Committee on Political Affairs, which decide the dates regarding the sessions of the parliament. Announcement made to the MPs at least 2 weeks before the notice. These are made by the Cabinet Committee on Political Affairs. And coming to the Constitution mandates there should not be a gap of 6 months between 2 sessions. There should not be gap between 2 sessions, at least 6 months. Less than 6 months, it will be okay. With monsoon session of the parliament held in the September, the government has no constitutional compulsion to hold the winter session. As the monsoon session has been conducted in the September only, there will be a lot of time for the 6 months gap. There will be doing away with the winter session. And coming to the other things, due to the COVID-19 infections, several MPs, 3 MPs were died due to the complications of the COVID pandemic. They are the Kanyakumari MP. The first one is the Kanyakumari MP H. Vasant Kumar, and Tirupati MP Balidurga Prasad, and Rajya Sabha MP Ashok Gasti has died due to the COVID complications. And apart from this, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu has been also tested positive. Keeping all these situations in mind, they will be doing away of the winter session. Coming to the sessions of the parliament, generally sessions is a period during which the house meets almost every day without uninterruptedly, except in some cases for the management of the parliamentary affairs. There will be 3 sessions in a year. The first one is the budget session, which will be from February to May, and June will be the gap, and starts the monsoon session from July to September, and October will be the gap, and finally winter session will be starts from mid-November to mid-December. The winter session is the most shortest session of all. And coming to the when a session has been taking place, calling of the MPs can be taken place through a process called summoning. That means if a session want to take in place, the president will call the MPs. This process is called summoning. All this about the parliamentary terms relating to this, and coming into the next articles. The CBA has booked 16 members. The CBA has booked the 16 members who targeting the Supreme Court and High Court judges of Andhra Pradesh regarding the allegations of allegations against the judges in the judicial process. They have been booked in the provisions of the they have been booked under the provisions of the IT Act and IPC, Indian Penal Code provisions, and Information Technology Act has been invoked, and they will be arrested. Some members who are in the higher position also made this, and they are all have been arrested. Here another thing, the early data of the vaccine of Moderna company has shown 94.5% effective. It shows what is the principle involved in the vaccine here is they developed a synthetic version of the genetic material of the coronavirus. That means they created a synthetic mRNA which program the person's immune cells to fight against the coronavirus. By using this inactive vaccine, the antibodies can be produced and fight against this. That means the inactive vaccine, the inactive genetic material of the coronavirus has been injected as a vaccine, and the bodies will be reacted for the second time after attack of the coronavirus. And coming to the next articles, Pakistan continued to raise terror charges. Recently, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mohammad Qureshi says that UN report claimed the presence of the Islamic State and Al Qaeda groups in the India. He says about this, mentioning a report of the UN, which says that the 26th report of the Analytical Support and Sanctions Monitoring Team says that the Islamic State and the Al Qaeda associated individuals and entities has been present in India. One member state reported that ISIL Indian affiliated who are Hind Vilayah has been announced on May 10, 2019, has been between 180 to 200 members has been resided in the states of Karnataka and the Kerala, members of IS and the Al Qaeda, says this UN report. Based on this, the Pakistan minister says allegations it is also sponsoring the terrorism. Regarding the to pull back the India, which is hosting the UNSC non-permanent member from January 2021. From January 2021, India is going to take the non-permanent seat of the UNSC. It is alleging like that. And coming to the other things, there is no proofs regarding this. And coming to the next articles, high praise for the Manmohan Singh in the Barack Obama's new memoir. In the writings of the Barack Obama, he mentioned about the personality of the Manmohan Singh during his visit, a two-part memoir, a promise named as Promise Land. A Promise Land, written by the former president of the US, Barack Obama, uh, making his interest in India and Mahatma Gandhi's life, his relationship with the former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, who calls him as a uncommon wisdom and a decency man. And the Obama says developed a warm and productive relationship with Mr. Singh in the New Delhi during his visit in November 2010. He says that Manmohan Singh is a gentle, soft-spoken economist in the 70s with a wide beard and turban, having a marks of the Sikh faith. But Western Island, the air of a holy man, has been India's finance minister in 1990s, managing millions of people taken away from the poverty. This is the statements made by the Obama about the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, and cautions the he also very cautiously deals the foreign policy and the Indian democracy and the bureaucracy regarding this. The man of uncommon wisdom and decency, he says about him, and he reached agreements in the strengthened US cooperation for the counter-terrorism, global health and nuclear security and trade, says the Obama in this statement. And a special phase he mentioned that he also observed one-sixth of the humanity, that means 2000 distinct ethnic groups and 700 languages has been present in India. And he also listened to the epics of Mahabharata and Ramayana during his childhood in Indonesia, and his interest in Eastern religions because a group of India and Pakistan friends in college learned him about different things such as cooking dal and keema, and introduced him the Bollywood movies and all these things. And he also spent in the sorry. And coming to the Gandhiji's life and his legacy, who is the base inspiration for the U.S. civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhiji's philosophy, from which the Martin Luther King has been inspired. And he also spent at Mani Bhavan in the Mumbai when he visit, which is used by the Gandhiji during when he was there in the Mumbai. And he respects India as a country of a success story. He just not only praised but also critical about some forms of inequality, the rich and poor differences, and violence, both public and private, are continued to be in all too pervasive parts of the life. And other things he made means after the this is not so important. That's all. And coming to the next article, comply with the FDA ceilings. Government tells digital news films. What all about this means? After the day 4 days after it bought video streaming platforms such as 4 days after video streaming platforms such as Netflix and other things under the control of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Now, the Ministry of Information Broadcasting also making some new regime. It says that digital news portals to comply with the 26% cap on the FDA's, which was sanctioned last year. That means if you have to receive FDI that will be limited only to the investment of 26% only for the digital news media. This all about the thing. And reiterates cabinet decision on August last year imposing 26% FDI under the government route for uploading streaming of news and current affairs through digital media only. And only major departure now is investment below 26%. Who are having FDI below 26%, they have to intimate the ministry and shareholding pattern which they have to hold, and the names and address of the directors and the shareholders have to be complied with the ministry. And if we having more than 26%, have to be bring down at percent. And coming to the, this serves no purpose for the government. It is just trying to get more and more levelers to manipulate the digital media, says some of the person of the TV in digital media TV. And coming to the next article, Indian US students. Indian students in the US. Just a minute. Indian students in the US dropped 4.4% last year, and international enrollment fell to 42% in the US. That means the the persons of the students who are studying in the USA has been dropped 42% when compared to the last year figures, whereas Indians student population fell 4.4% when compared to the last year. This worst drop has been taken place over a decade. From the decade onwards, it is the graph is just going up only. And this new international student enrollment in American universities have been crashed to 42% low in 2020. This 90% of the institutions reported the students have deferred the enrollment by a year. Some students have deferred a year their enrollment. China having bigger share with 35% of the their students studying in the American institutions, whereas India is holding 18% of the students. Now it is reduced to 4.4%. That means 18 minus 4.4% only are studying. That is nearly 13%. And 1.93 lakh students has been now situated in the US institutions, Indian students. And coming to the next things, this is the sharpest decline since the 2005-6, where 5% fall has been occurred in 2005-6. It is going to be steeper still due to the COVID-19 pandemic is continuing. The survey of fall enrollment of 700 institutions shows that 20% of their international students studying online. The survey of the fall of enrollment shows 700 institutions, which is having 20% international students are registered online study this year, and data split available country of the origin according to the 2020 enrollment. Some deferred the admissions for a year. And coming to the worries of the online education, due to the students from the different countries, there is the varying of the different time zones. That's why there will be no adjustments. That's why the institutions are planning course schedules to cope with such different timings. This all about the today's Hindu newspaper discussion. And only one thing article is missing is GAIL has completed Kochi Mangaluru pipeline. And regarding these facts, Chandragiri River. And this is the article. GAIL, Gas Authority India Limited, has completed Kochi Mangaluru pipeline recently. This is a 444-kilometer pipeline extending from Kochi to the Mangaluru. Just a minute. This is the Kochi and this is the Mangaluru. This is the line extends from here to here. This is the center point and it extends up to the Bengaluru also in this direction. And coming to the things, it is a 444-kilometer pipeline and commissioned by the GAIL, and it has completed uh, recently with the completion of a very difficult stretch across the Chandragiri River, which is a just 540-meter length, which is a more difficult stretch for the authority to complete it in the northern Kerala on the Chandragiri River. After this completion, the total project has been completed. And in 2009, it was estimated up to a cost of 2,915. Due to the several reasons, it has been delayed, and the project due to the commercial grounds and safety issues, all these things, the land price has been increased, and finally the project cost is uh, 5,750 crores has been spent on this project, nearly doubling the estimation of the cost. And coming to the other things, it is located most difficult stretch is Chandragiri River in the Kasargod district, which is the main source for the Kasargod people, and a 444-kilometer pipeline. And the Kootnadu is the main junction of the project from where it bifurcates to Mangaluru and Bangalore. Coming here, this is the Kootnadu, and from this it bifurcates Kochi to Kootnadu, and when you go here, it comes to the Bangalore, and here it comes to the it comes to the Bangalore. Here it is the Mangaluru. Kootnadu is the main center point. This is his saying. And the first phase has been commissioned in August 2013, then started, and commissioning of the pipeline has gas demand of the Kerala touches 80 to 90 million cubic meters per annum. That means with this commissioning of this new gas pipeline, the demand for the gas, natural gas in the Kerala will increase from 80 to 90 million cubic meters per annum. Now it is just 60 million cubic meters per annum. And apart from huge environmental gains, state can benefit monetary 1,000 crore as taxes alone. State can get 1,000 crore taxes from this project. And coming to the, it will be passed around the 7 districts of the Kerala state. These are Ernakulam, Thrissur, Palakkad, Malappuram, Kajigod, and the Kannur and the Kasargod and the hilly Wayanad district. These are the districts which this gas pipeline will grow. And coming to the Chandragiri River, facts regarding this. Chandragiri River, also called as the Payasvini, which is a in the Kannada, Tulu or Malayalam, it will be called as Payasvini. It is the largest river of the Kasargod district of Kerala. It is named after the famous Mauryan king Chandragupta Maurya, who will be passing through this way to the Shravana Belagula of the Karnataka, and a 17th century fort, that is the Chandragiri fort, is situated on this river. And river considered traditional, this river is considered the traditional boundary between the Malayalam speaking now Kerala area and the Tulu speaking Mangaluru area, which is called as then Tulunadu. Then this river act as in the 14th century AD, this river acts as the boundary between the Tulunadu and the Malayalam state. And before that, it is said that it was on the north of the Kumbala. Kumbala is the town in the Kasargod district. And coming to the river originates in the Pattighat hills in the reserve forest area of the Coorg district of Karnataka. From Karnataka, it flows into the Kerala and finally joins the Arabian Sea. What are the major important towns it flowing through is Sulliya and Jalsur and Parappa and Cherakala, and finally Kasargod, and comes into the Arabian Sea. And in the Sulia Taluk, the major water resource is the this river. And in some areas of the Kerala, it is also called as Pokkayam, based on the Pokkayam region. It will be called also called as the Pokkayam River. Coming to the Gas Authority India Limited, it is a government of India undertaking company. It is the largest state-owned natural gas and processing distribution company, headquartered in New Delhi, and administrative control of this GAIL by the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. And other the segments controlled by the GAIL are natural gas, liquid hydrocarbon, LPG transmission, petrochemical, city gas distribution, exploration and production, and the GATEL and electricity generation. And the GAIL has given Maharatna status in 2013 with other PSCs, with 8 other PSCs. These all about the today.